First on our agenda, we have 2 meetings this evening, so I would ask your patience. We have to get through our organizational meeting first, and then we'll get into the regular meeting. With that in mind, I would like to call to order the organizational meeting of the Twinsburg Board of Education. This is Wednesday, January 7th, 2015. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Stuver?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Here.
Mrs. Kane Criswell's absent.
Yes, Kate is traveling for work tonight. As far as I know, we do not have any additional agenda items or items for the organizational meeting with my colleagues. Mrs. Powers, nothing. With that in mind, the first item on the agenda then under Section D is the organization of the board for 2015. I would like to open the floor for nominations for the office of president for the Twinsburg Board of Education for 2015.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Ron Stuver for president.
Okay, Mr. Felber nominates Mr. Stuver. Are there any other nominations for this office? Seeing none, with unanimous consent, the nominations are closed. I would now entertain a motion for the office of president for Mr. Stuver filling that position. A motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Felber. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. Okay, that motion passes 4-0. Next on the agenda, I would like to open the floor for nominations for the office of Vice President for the Board of Education for 2015 and also to serve as the President Pro Tem at the next year's organizational meeting until 2016, until the President is elected. I would like to open the floor for nominations for the Vice President.
I nominate Rob Felber.
Nomination for Mr. Felber is made by Ms. Davis. Are there any
Aye.
other nominations? With no other nominations, by unanimous consent, the nominations are closed. I would now like to entertain a motion for Mr. Felber to be elected as the Vice President.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. A second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Okay, yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. Okay, and that motion passes 4-0, and I would like to congratulate Mr. Felber. I know we'll be working closely together as I pass some knowledge to you this year and help you come up to speed on what it means to be in the center seat. So thank you for being willing to do that. Next on the agenda is item D5. A motion for the order of voting on motions and resolutions. In 2015, the board will use Robert's Rules of Order. The member making the motion is called first. The member seconding the motion is called next. Vice President second to last, and the President called last in alphabetical order when possible. Robert's Rules of Order shall prevail in determining all board meeting procedural questions. I will make the motion for this agenda item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Mr. Aho, roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
And that item passes 4-0. Next on our agenda, we have 21 items that I will read together. Consent agenda. This is under action item E, which is the Treasurer and Superintendent's business. E1, resolved that the Board of Education dispense with the reading of the board minutes of each regular and special meeting, provided they are delivered to the board members at least 2 days prior to the board meeting where approval is anticipated. E2, that the superintendent and treasurer do internal appropriation modifications whenever necessary under provisions of the purchasing and other financial policies of the district under Ohio law. E3, to appropriate a $10,000 service fund account in 2015. This is a board service account. E4, to authorize the treasurer to make payment of the 2015 installment for the faithful performance bond covering the board members and superintendent in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. E5, to grant the superintendent or her designee authority to file applications for all projects considered desirable for the Twinsburg City School District. E6, to authorize the signature of the treasurer or the facsimile thereof to be used on all checks and warrants. E7, to designate the superintendent or her designee as purchasing agent for the Twinsburg City School District for 2015. E8, to authorize the treasurer to invest funds whenever practical as permitted by law, either in short-term or long-term investments, and to give a report to the board. E9, to authorize the treasurer to provide payments to employees for salaries and expenses and suppliers for goods and services within appropriations. A check register will be presented to the board. E10, that the treasurer's name will appear on all active accounts. E11, that the budgetary level of authority is at the fund object level for the general fund and at the fund level for all other funds. E12, that the Board of Education sets the payment for board members per the following schedule. Will receive $100 per meeting for a maximum number of 36 meetings in a calendar year 2015. E13, that the Board of Education sets the day, time, and place for the regular board meetings for the calendar year 2015. These are listed in the agenda of the organizational meeting. For the most part, they are the first and third Wednesday of each month, with the exception of April and June, and there's only one board meeting in July. Just a reminder that our board meetings are typically to be called to order at 7 o'clock, and that we will meet here in the City Government Center unless there's other reasons where we sometimes have work sessions at the Twinsburg High School, LGI, or in the band room. E14, that the Board of Education accepts any and all federal and state grant monies available to the district, and to authorize the participation of staff members in any grant programs that are available to the district during the school year 2015-2016. E15, to authorize the superintendent to employ personnel and to accept resignations as needed during the calendar year 2015. Such employments and resignations will be reviewed by the Board of Education at its next regularly scheduled meeting. E16, to recommend that the Twinsburg Board of Education appoint the treasurer, superintendent, director of business services, and Alan Shore of Christley, Harrington, and Pierce as representatives to the Tax Incentive Review Council meetings at the Summit County Department of Economic Development. E17, to appoint Tina Davis as the delegate and Kate Kane Criswell as the alternate delegate to the Ohio School Boards Association 2015 Capital Conference. E18, that the Akron Beacon Journal, the Plain Dealer, both daily newspapers of general circulation, and or the Twinsburg Bulletin be designated as the official publications for legal notices. E19, to appoint the Records Commission of the Twinsburg City School District for the calendar year 2015, comprised of the President of the Board of Education, the Superintendent, the Director of Business Services, and the Treasurer of the District. The Records Commission shall meet at least once each calendar year to establish rules for retention and disposal of records and to review the same. E20, that the Board of Education approves petty cash funds. Building principal or designee and athletic director may request up to $300. Central office budgetary officer may request up to $200. Food service director may request $200 petty cash in addition to a $360 change fund. Expenditures of up to $25 may be made from the petty cash. And finally, E21, that the audit committee will consist of a member of the finance committee in addition to the superintendent and or designee and treasurer. Is there a motion for agenda item E and all 21 of these items that I've read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Felber. A second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl-Waldron. Is there any discussion or any questions on these items? These are all pretty routine. It's part of our annual organizational meeting to set up how the board operates from one year to the next. Mr. Aho, roll call, please.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Stuver,
Yes. And those items pass 4-0. Next on our agenda, under item G, is the appointment of the Board of Education representatives for the committees. Under item G1, the Finance Committee, I have suggested Mr. Felber and myself, Mr. Stuver. Under G2, Buildings and Grounds, Ms. Turl-Waldron and Ron Stuver. G3, Curriculum and Technology, to be comprised of Ms. Kane Criswell and Ms. Davis. G4, the Policy Committee, Ms. Davis and Mr. Felber. G5, the Athletic Committee, Ms. Kane Criswell and Ms. Turl-Waldron. And as the Legislative Liaison, G6, to the Ohio School Boards, Mr. Felber. And item G7, the Student Achievement Liaison to the Ohio School Boards Association, Ms. Davis. Is there a motion for these 7 items under Agenda Item G?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. A second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. And those items pass 4-0. Agenda item H is our representation of legal counsel. There are 3 different firms that we've used from year to year. The primary one is Britton, Smith, Peters, and Carlisle. Resolved to approve that the following list of firms for legal counsel representative for the Board of Education during 2015 be Britton, Smith, Peters, and Carlisle. Second firm is Squire, Patton, and Boggs. And the third is Chrisley, Harrington, and Pierce, in addition to also using legal services from the Ohio School Boards Association. I will make the motion that these organizations serve as legal counsel representation to the Board of Education. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Any discussion or questions on this particular motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
And that motion passes 4-0. Agenda item I, we have some staff positions that we need to address. Item I-1, the Title IX Hearing Officer will be the Director of Business Services. I-2, the Anti-Harassment Grievance Officer will be Director of Human Resources and/or the Director of Business Services. I-3, the 504 ADA Compliance Officer, the Director of Pupil Personnel and/or the Director of Human Resources. I-4, the Civil Rights Coordinator will be the Director of Pupil Personnel and/or the Director of Human Resources. Item I-5, the Homeless Liaison will be the Director of Pupil Personnel. And I-6, the Suspension Appeal Officer as designee of the board will be the Superintendent or her designee. I will make the motion for these 6 items under Agenda Item I. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Again, are there any comments or questions regarding these items? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
And those items pass 4-0. And finally, for our organizational meeting, the appointment of the District Records Officer for the 2015 school year, or 2015 calendar year, I apologize. Resolved to recognize the Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent as the District Records Officer as established under the Twinsburg City Schools Administrative Guideline 8310A. The individual in this position will also serve as the Twinsburg City School District designee in this regard. Is there a motion for this agenda item?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Felber, a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. And that item passes 4-0. I would like to call for the board to adjourn from the organizational meeting at 7:16 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0. The Board of Education is now adjourned from the organizational meeting, and we will now move on to the regular meeting. Call to order the regular meeting of the Twinsburg Board of Education. Again, this is Wednesday, January 7th, 2015. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Stuver?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Here.
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Okay, and Ms. Kane Criswell is away for work on travel. This time, to stretch your legs, I'd like to ask you all to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thanks for hanging with us. I don't know, that might have been the quickest organizational meeting we've had, but I want to thank you all for putting up with all of that administrative stuff. You know, after a mild December, Old Man Winter has come back and has reminded us very, very clearly of what season we're in. So thank you for being out here on a cold night. This is the first board meeting of the new calendar year, and we'd like to welcome back our staff and students for the start of the second semester of the 2014-2015 school year. As per that previous organizational meeting, which we just concluded, January is also School Board Recognition Month, so it's appropriate tonight that we pause and just reflect and are reminded of the role and the purpose of school board members. Members of the Board of Education are elected by the community and thus are advocates and representatives of the board, the voters, and the taxpayers of the school district. The Twinsburg School District is comprised of the communities of Reminderville, Twinsburg Township, and the city of Twinsburg. Here are a few highlights from the Ohio School Board Association regarding the role of a school board member. Our purpose is one of governance and not of school management. The school board is directly responsible to employ the superintendent and the treasurer and to work with these individuals directly as we establish goals and policy for the district. It is the superintendent, treasurer, and their respective staffs that manage the district on a daily basis. School board members make many decisions that have a direct impact on the fiscal well-being of the school district, and thus another primary responsibility of a board member is to be a good financial steward of the taxpayers' dollars. As advocates for the community as a whole, school board members also serve as a link between the schools and the public. It's also important to understand what board members do not do, and the Ohio School Boards Association states that the role and function of board members are often misinterpreted by the public. The board is a policy-making body, and members are the chief advisors to the superintendent or on community attitude. Board members do not manage the day-to-day operations of a school district. They see to it that the system is managed well by professionals. Board members are not education professionals. We do not evaluate staff other than the superintendent and the treasurer, nor do we become involved in employment interviews other than those of the superintendent, business manager, and treasurer. Ultimately, no one can know the various pressures, politics, and satisfactions of such a position until he or she has had the experience of serving on the Board of Education. This board has been and will continue to be focused on reaching a common goal, and that is the safety and educational welfare of all children attending our schools, or as Mrs. Powers likes to put it, a quality education for our students in an environment that is warm, safe, and dry. While the board and administrators focus our attention on higher level or more strategic issues, our building principals, our teachers and staff are busy each day educating our children. And thus, a special welcome tonight to the staff, students, and families from Bissell Elementary and R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. I know that you're here tonight for some special recognition, so without further delay, I would like to turn the meeting over to Mrs. Powers for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Stuver. Good evening, Board of Education, parents, students. Thank you for joining us on such a chilly evening. It has been a day that we've been talking a lot about the weather, and I'll get to that in a minute, but we do have students from our middle school, and also we have presentations from Bissell, and Mr. Reese is here to update everybody about our great programs at RBC. Board of Education, before I get going with my comments, so I want to congratulate Mr. Stuver and his election as president, and Mr. Felber in your election as vice president. I suppose I'm the only one in the district that really recognizes or has the upfront view of what the Board of Education really does on a daily basis. We're in constant contact. Things happen in the district on a daily basis, and it's usually a phone call, a text message, and we try to keep the Board of Education abreast of all things going on in the district, and they are my counsel. As late as last evening, we had a situation that all 5 board members were on the phone with me late in the evening, and it just offers a perspective because they represent the community. So I appreciate your dedication to our students. It really does help to have that partnership between the administrators and our Board of Education, and it's a great partnership. It means great things for the students of our school district. Board of Education, before I proceed, I just want to show off our new item. You know, we have a professional athlete who is an alumnus of Twinsburg High School, and that's Brad Stuver, who is Mr. Stuver's son, and he plays for the Columbus Crew. So we're going to put this in a nice glass case and hang it in the hallway over at Twinsburg High School. So please thank Brad on behalf of all of the students and our kids who are yet to become Tigers at the high school. But my gosh, what a great role model he is for for all of our students, and thank you on our behalf. Please relay our thanks to Brad, too. Plays for the Columbus Crew. He's a tremendous role model for our students, and to say that he's come up through our programs and is now a professional athlete is really quite a feather in our cap, and certainly in your families, too.
Thank you. Mr. Massalona's has been asking for that shirt for some time, and I told him the school didn't get a shirt until the dad got a shirt. So we finally got a shirt for the school.
That's awesome. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
As I started with, the weather has been the topic of conversation. As early as 4 o'clock this morning, my poor husband, all I can tell you is 4 o'clock this morning, the text messages are going off between Dr. Clark from Nordonia and Mr. Herman from Hudson, Mr. Bennett from Aurora. We're all talking to each other. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And that's kind of the thing that begins the morning when we're talking about a snow day or a delayed start. Our superintendent's network really is a strong group, and we do try to stay in contact with each other. Likewise, Mr. Welker here, our Director of Business Services, is on the phone with business managers across Northeast Ohio. He's in contact with the local road crews, driving the roads. I make Paul get up with my dog, and we're out driving the back roads. And because that's the best way, because our community is made up of 3 different places, and when I look out my front window, it may look totally different than what's happening up in the township or Reminderville. So we're out on the roads pretty early in the morning, making sure that the buses can get out. This morning, our interim transportation supervisor and our bus drivers were in, I think, at 4:30, making sure that the buses were running and warmed up and ready to roll. And that's a tremendous commitment, and I do appreciate the dedication of our transportation department, because if our yellow limos don't run, our kids aren't getting to school. So I appreciate Mr. Nick Valentine and Tracy Abbott, our dispatcher, Bonnie Vadine, our secretary over there, and a tremendous transportation staff that is dedicated to getting our kids to school each and every day. So we have a lot of internal conversations going on snowy mornings, external conversations, and we really do try to make the best decision. Our priority always is going to be to make sure that our kids are safe. And I do have to say that most times when we have a snowy morning, I get to work and somebody calls and is concerned about a decision. You know, don't you know, can't you see? And yes, I do. But when we make these kinds of decisions, it's really, I try to balance everything. And if we can get the kids to school warm, safe, and dry, the district's going to be open. It's our priority to educate children. And parents, if you feel that the district has not made the right decision for your child, then that's your personal decision that you make. And if that is the decision that you make, then just please call the school office and say, I'm just not comfortable with my child coming to school today, and it's because of the inclement weather. Your child will be marked as an excused absence for the day. So again, we try to make the very best decisions we can. A lot of thought, a lot of conversations begin very early in those mornings. I think we're going to be up probably tomorrow morning too, trying to make the best decision for the district. But again, it isn't anything that we take very lightly. We're very concerned about making sure kids can get to school. And we know that when our students are uncertain or our parents are uncertain, it has an impact on what happens in the morning in our homes. And our parents are off to work. They need to know what's happening. So we try to make that decision by 5:15, 5:30 at the latest. At that point, I'm making a Blackboard Connect call. We put it up on our website. Our new Blackboard Connect system allows me to send emails to our families too. So if you've not updated your email information with your building principal, or if your phone numbers are not correct, if you can talk to the building principal, they'll update that information for you so that you're getting those messages as quickly as we can get them out. So this other phenomenon I want to talk about is a 2-hour delay. This morning, if you were watching what happened, is 4 o'clock, 4:35, 6, no snow was falling. About 6:30, a clipper came through, and it was very hard to see. Chad and I were on the phone, and he and I talked several times, and we made the decision that that was going to diminish pretty quickly, so we weren't going to close. Our friends in Aurora, however, saw something different, and they pulled a 2-hour delay. And when that happens, I just wanted to review what would happen in our district under a 2-hour delay. Parents are asked to continue to monitor the TV and the radios, because under a 2-hour delay, we believe that the conditions will improve, but you never know. You get underneath one of these walls, and we might be calling school instead of it just being a 2-hour delay. So in the event that a 2-hour delay is called, everything is adjusted by 2 hours. Our buses would be picking up our students 2 hours later, and the school day, however, would end as it typically would. So if you're the high school, I think you're out 2:05, then you're out at 2:05, regardless if it's a 2-hour delay or not. The other thing that is important to know, that if we're under a 2-hour delay, buses to the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center would be canceled for the morning, and also we would not have morning preschool classes. So those are a couple of things that would be adjustments to a day if it's a 2-hour delay day. And also our private school transportation would also be on the 2-hour delay. So we have posted all this information this afternoon on our website. So if you're curious about what we do, how we do, please visit our website, www.twinsburg.k12.oh.us. Take a look there, and if you have any questions, never hesitate to call my office. We're always happy to talk to our parents and try to explain how we make the decisions that we do. Obviously, the safety of our kids is the most important priority. We really do try to make the best decision for the students. It's important that they're in school and getting their academic education, but I want to make sure kids are safe. And so our partnership with our parents, if you think I make a wrong decision, you want to talk about it, don't hesitate to call me. I'm happy to have that conversation with you. But I just wanted to let you know that it is a long process, a long morning, and we do try to make the best decision that we can based on the information that we do have. So I just wanted to let everybody know how that works. Also, Board of Education on the website homepage, we posted the proposed academic calendar for 15-16. Parents, if you take a look at it, we would anticipate that the Board of Education will approve the calendar at next meeting, which is the 21st of January. The way the law currently is written is that we allow our parents 30 days from the point that we introduce the calendar to the point that the board votes on it. And our public is now encouraged to provide feedback regarding the calendar. So if you have any comments about it, there is now a link to a page that you can submit your feedback. So take a look at our home site of our website and let us know if you have any comments about the proposed calendar. It's not approved yet, so don't plan vacation quite yet. But on January 21st, we would hope that the board would approve the calendar, and then it becomes the real thing, and we can move forward with those dates. And then finally, just again, our commercial announcement for Alex Simon. He will be here on Tuesday, January 20th. Mr. Simon was a former performer in Stomp, which is a Broadway production, and he brings to our school district a message about self-esteem and anti-bullying, and that's going to be a tremendous presentation. It's going to be a performance, actually. That's Tuesday, January 20th at 7 o'clock, and we look forward to hearing Mr. Simon's wonderful message and seeing and hearing him perform. So we thank Mrs. Trapphagen for her efforts in bringing Mr. Simon back. He was here at the high school about a month or so ago, and the students at the high school really enjoyed the presentation so much that we thought, boy, if our high school kids enjoyed it so much, so might our parents and other students. So we look forward to seeing Mr. Simon on the 20th. So lots going on, but enough about me. And at this point, I want to ask Mrs. Johnson to come forward. She has some very exciting news about stuff that happened today at Bissell, and also some teachers here to present some nice things that they've been doing with some of our parents. So welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Good evening, everyone. And I just want to say Happy New Year to all of you, and thank you for all your support and hard work that you do. You're behind the scenes working hard. We appreciate all the support you give us, because without that, it's like you're our legs when we stand up on our legs. So thank you so much for your support. Today was very exciting for the students at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. If you don't know, we were selected as the Cool School of the Week, Fox 8 Cool School. So they were out today. The students had a ball. It was so exciting. They were doing all kinds of wonderful things to show off why they are a cool school. And I tell you, they are they are students who belong to a cool school. They did a wonderful job today. We're so proud of them. It will air tomorrow morning during the 6:30 a.m. program and also during the 4 o'clock p.m. program. So if you're not available during those times, set your DVR, because you have to see it. It's going to be exciting and fun to watch. This evening we have two teachers who will be here with us today to share some very, very exciting things that's happening at Samuel Bissell. For the first time this year, we did a Make It, Take It session for our parents, and these teachers did a wonderful job providing resources that could be shared with students at home. So I'm going to invite Mrs. Stauffer and Mrs. Muller up to the front, and they're going to share with you some of the wonderful things they've been doing with our parents. No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to.
Oh, I think so, 'cause you went here.
You may not be able. Okay, you want me to hold it for you?
Pardon me? Oh, I'll hold it.
You
That's
got it?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hold it. Okay, well, thank you very much for having us. And I think what I'd like to begin with is just explaining how we came up with these ideas, the rationale behind it. And what we found through our years of experience. We did this with, by the way, Mrs. Magyar and Mrs. Kosick. We are all intervention specialists at Bissell. But what we did was we started off trying to think of what we know about students and what we really wanted to share with parents, because we know that parents want to help their children, but they don't always know how, what's the best way. So when we say practice facts at home, well, yeah, that's great, but some of you remember this, doing those worksheets and over and over and over. But what we were trying to do was come up with some practical, concrete ways that we could share this, that people could do this that would be less painful than what your children may have gone through years ago. So what we did was we tried to come up with what would be the most important things. And what we found was in second grade, third grade, students know how to read, but they don't always read fluently. And that's an area that's a little bit more difficult. We know that the more fluent a child becomes at reading, the higher their comprehension level. So we began with, and for Exhibit 1, this is called a whisper phone. This is a whisper phone, and if Ms. Muller is going to share these with you, if you hold it up to your ear and talk into it, you will find why this is such a valuable tool for students. The parents came in and put these together, and what it is it allows children the opportunity to really focus on what. Did you try it? Focus on the reading. It kind of blocks out all the other noises around them. They hear only the sounds that they're producing. So if you whisper into that, try it. If you whisper into it, even anything you read, you'll see that you're all of a sudden just focused on what you're reading. They hear their mistakes. They're pretty amazing, and I wish years ago we had these. That was the first thing that the parents put together, a whisper phone. Okay, so now we get to the comprehension.
I'm not sure I dialed the right number.
You have to read your notes, and it's amazing. All of a sudden, nothing around you. You don't hear the sounds around you. You only hear, even my voice, you won't hear anymore. But anyway, they'll hear that, and it really helps. It's also enjoyable for them, because now they can focus on expression. There's different things that they'll focus on as well. So another thing that you'll often hear, and I'm sure parents have heard this many times, is read daily. Daily reading is so important. It's so important. And we know it is. We know that's important. But what we find is that with that independent reading, a lot of parents aren't sure whether or not the child is reading. And, they spent the time in the room, and they're reading, and they're watching them read. But I don't know about you. I can read 3 paragraphs, and when I get done, I think, I didn't hear a word of what I just read. I may know that I have to pick somebody up at 2 o'clock. I need to get dinner started by 3, but I don't know anything on the paragraph I just read. So kids do the same thing. So what they designed, what we came up with, were some comprehension cubes. And these comprehension cubes they came in and put them all together. They are based on Bloom's taxonomy of higher level thinking. So what we did was we began with the more basic questions, just remembering, and those are the green cubes. And so a child can read their story, and the parent can be cooking dinner, whatever it is, toss the cube when they're done, and ask a question, whatever question it is. If the child can answer the question, then you know that they've probably read it. Now again, they would begin with the most basic question. There's some of them that get pretty high level. But it was a fun activity, and believe this probably took the most time from our Make It and Take It, but they did seem to enjoy that. So now they have a focus, and now they can immediately, they know whether or not they've read the story or they've read the passage, and they can go ahead, and if they don't understand, now they can convey it to the teacher as well. So it opens up this line of communication that's so important in education. Okay, Mrs. Muller.
Then we went to the math component, and one thing I just wanted to share with you is we had all the materials set up for all the parents. So when we were there assisting cutting and taping and pasting and all that things that take so long, and so many parents were like, thank you for just giving us this hour to sit here and do it, because I can send it home, but they don't know how to do it. So we actually worked with them, we sat next to them, we helped them prepare all of those things. The next thing we did was with the math, and what we wanted to focus on was basic facts. You know, by this time in 2nd and 3rd grade, students really do understand the understanding of addition and subtraction. They understand, you know, to combine groups, how to break apart, but now we have to learn fact fluency. It's very difficult for certain students, and you want to make it fun. So what we did is we have fact triangles, and students can do a variety of different ways. We had addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. There's simple triangles that have the facts for them, and you could do multiple ways. The students would give you the fact families with them. You can cover up a number, they'll have to tell you the missing number. So just another way, a fun way of them getting that fact fluency. The other thing that we did was provided the families with a deck of cards. Surprising how many games there are that are great educational ways that they can do with a deck of cards. So we gave them this as well as a typed up list of games that they could actually play with them. You know, addition, top it, you take 2 cards. Your child take 2 cards, flip it over, add it, who has the largest sum, who has the least sum, multiply it, divide it, just different ways that you can do. We provided them with a place value chart. Take 3 cards, make the largest number, make the smallest number. You know, we actually played with these with the parents, so we actually sat down with them at the table. We played a few games, so we knew when they left our room for the day, they would be able to understand it and be able to play with their child. It was a huge success. The parents, we got very positive feedback. They loved being able to walk away with these materials, understanding what to do with it. We also sent the materials home. We offered 2 sessions. We offered a morning session for parents and an afternoon, which lasted for an hour. However, we understand parents have to work, so we did provide Ziploc bags of all the goodies and a description of what to do with everything, and we did send it to parents who were unable to come and attend. We are planning on doing another one in the spring. We have not set a date, but we're planning now different activities to do of things that we're covering later on in the year for the students, and working on some great activities to share.
So I really would like to take a minute to thank the administration from you guys and everybody who provided us the opportunity to do this. In particular, I wanted to make sure I gave a big shout out to Mrs. Preisendorfer, Mrs. Farthing's assistant, and she was fantastic in helping us get the materials together. So again, I thank you, and thanks for letting us share.
Thank you very much.
You know, I had the opportunity to be at Bissell the afternoon of the Make It and Take It session, and the parents were so excited, and they were so into making these things. It was so well done. So thank you for providing this opportunity for our families, and I'm sure that when they got home that night, they were so excited to share these great things with their kids.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. They had we're looking forward to doing another one, and we've got a bunch of great ideas. We haven't picked a date yet, but we have some fun activities planned, or activities I think that are great for transporting. So, give this back now.
He's trying to steal your phone. Try it. Go. Thanks, Maureen. We'd like to switch gears and ask Mr. Reese to come forward. We have some outstanding students from our middle school. Mr. Welker, if you can come forward and help us. And Mrs. Davis has pins for our outstanding middle school students. Great. Welcome, Mr. Reese. At R.B. Chamberlain Middle School, students receiving the honor of Students of the Month are recognized for meeting all 6 of the following criteria. Criteria include that these students show respect and consideration for others, show enthusiasm for academic and extracurricular activities, exert a positive influence on their classmates, exhibit leadership characteristics, exhibit patriotism and democratic principles, and show responsibility because they're punctual, they get their assignments in on time, and they're all around great students. So we would like to recognize the following students of the month from R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. And this is for the month of December from our 7th grade class. Boys and girls, when you come forward, if you would kindly come up and shake hands with Mrs. Davis. She has a small token of the board's appreciation for you. And then Mr. Reese has your plaque. And then we'll ask you to remain standing here in the front. And when all the students have been recognized, we'll provide our parents with an opportunity to take a photo of everyone. So that's how this will go. So we'd like to begin with 7th grade. First of all, we have Rebecca Mold. Ryan Christensen. Jewel Duncan. And Emerson Schneeman. Okay, moving on to our 8th grade students, we have Daniel Coppers. Nicole Frusella. Nick Baker. And Anna Maria Surdu. Boys and girls, we really appreciate your leadership, and I know that Mr. Reese is very proud of you. On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for all that you do to make R.B. Chamberlain such a great place. Let's join in all together with a round of applause.
Thank you, students. You can return to your seats. We're very proud of our students, and recently our students got together and put on an event we're especially proud of. That was our Safety Forces Lunch. Student government got together prior to break, and they invited safety forces from the fire departments, the police, the sheriff, the mayor's office. This was something new, just to show our appreciation for what they do to keep us safe. And we did not know how it would turn out. We kind of rearranged the cafeteria so students would have access to the different safety forces and interact with them, get to ask them questions. And over 40 members from the various departments showed up, and we were just so excited. The mayor came, prosecutors came, fire chiefs, police chiefs, sheriff's department, and the kids got to sit, eat lunch with them, and interact. And it was very powerful for, I think, both sides, the safety forces and our students. When 9/11 hit, our students, many of them weren't even born, or they were in diapers, so they didn't get to see our safety forces, our fire fighters, and our police officers running up into a burning building to save us. But they have seen a lot of negative media lately concerning safety forces, and sometimes we lose perspective with what these people do for us and what they represent. And to be able to sit with them and talk to them, I think really gave our kids a perspective, and they were appreciative, and I know our safety forces were appreciative too. So it was a very powerful event, and something that I hope we carry forward in the future years. So I think that was our big highlight for the month of December. And now moving forward, we're looking forward to a great second semester. Drama starts tomorrow. We're doing Once Upon a Mattress, and we're very excited about that. Girls basketball season is underway. I started yesterday with their first practice, so we're looking forward to that. And many other choir concerts and band concerts and orchestra concerts for a second semester. So looking forward to a great second semester, and thank you all for coming on the cold night.
Thank you, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. That concludes our comments, Mr. Stuver.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. For those of you who have other things to do tonight, maybe some homework, this would be a great time in the meeting. If you need to leave, if you want to stay, we've got plenty on the agenda here. You can stay. Thank you for coming. We'll move on into committee reports. Do any of my colleagues have any committee report items tonight?
No, but we do have on February 2nd, which I guess is Groundhog Day, a curriculum and technology meeting at 6 o'clock. So, like to join us, 6 o'clock.
RBC.
At RBC Library, yes. Chocolate will be there.
Okay. Anything else under committees? Okay. Next on the agenda is our procedure. We have people submit blue cards if they want to speak at remonstrance. As a reminder, the purpose of the regular meetings of the Board of Education is to conduct business. Because the Board of Education represents the school district, which is a public organization, these business meetings are required to be conducted in public. These meetings are different from community forums, other special meetings, which are conducted with the specific intent to engage with and encourage interactive discussion with the community. To accommodate public participation in the regular Board of Education meetings, an agenda item called remonstrance is included. The conduct for remonstrance is provided for in the Board of Education bylaws, specifically section 0169.1. Persons wishing to speak during remonstrance are asked to provide their name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes, and while statements regarding matters of general district policy or procedures are certainly appropriate, statements should not be personally directed nor abusive, nor should statements be made regarding specific disciplinary matters involving students or staff. Any concerns regarding student disciplinary matters or staff performance, the Board of Education would request that you submit such concerns in writing to the superintendent. At this time, I would like to invite, we have one blue card here. It's Ms. Turner, I think, would like to speak to the board. And I see here that the topic is the first Lego team. And I see some guys wearing some T-shirts out there. Does this by chance happen to be the group that I saw in the paper?
No, that was our group.
That was a different group.
Yeah.
Still Legos though, right?
Yep.
All right,
Group.
come on up, folks.
Good evening. We are the first Lego League team. All our other names were vetoed. And we thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. First Lego League is an organization where students are challenged to investigate and create an innovative solution to a real-world problem. This year's theme focuses on education and how we can help someone improve the way that they learn.
Okay. For our topic, we chose to study how we can improve the way students deal with stress. Stress is something we all experience at some time, but many people, especially students, don't know much about it or how to deal with it. We even have to admit that we felt some stress when trying to plan this presentation. Stress can affect the way we learn as well as the way we perform on tests or interact with friends.
As school board and school leaders, we know you are concerned about how students manage stressful situations. Stress management for students is only going to become more important as students face additional tests and pressures. This is the biggest reason why we wanted to share our findings with you.
Through our research, which included interviewing teachers, parents, and students, as well as experts in stress management, we realized that handling stress is a learned skill that has to be taught and modeled like manners. Schools, students, and parents all need to work together to help students learn about stress as well as what they can do to manage their stress.
We were really influenced by a book called Play by Dr. Stuart Brown. Dr. Brown feels that play is a wonderful force in our lives. It helps us learn better and can even help us get rid of stress. Play is something that we do naturally as little children, but gets harder to do as we get older. This is what led us to our innovative solution, the Stress Relief Fun Kit.
The Stress Relief Fun Kit is a way for kids to learn how to deal with stress and then get a chance to practice some stress relief strategies. Inside this box, you will find a 60-second guide on how to deal. We have a blown-up version of the kit right here. A 60-second guide on how to deal with stress. This guide, which is written by our LEGO League team, has some information about stress and provides additional ideas for stress relief, such as relaxation or deep breathing.
Play-Doh. This provides a physical way to relieve stress. Use your hands and squeeze the stress away. Fun is also a great way to lessen stress, so be a kid and create something.
Crayons and paper. This gives you a creative outlet to relieve stress. You can write down your thoughts or just doodle.
Rubik's Cube. This gives you a mental way to reduce your stress. Try to solve it or just mix it up. Your brain just might need a break.
Peppermint candy. A 2008 study in the International Journal of Neuroscience showed that peppermint enhances memory and alertness and has a calming effect on people.
We wanted our solution to be affordable, easily available, and fun. All of these items can be purchased from a party store, and the total cost for our product is less than $2.50.
To test our product, we provided 30 stress relief fun kits to Mrs. Lonzak, a 7th grade language arts teacher at RBC. She used them with her students over the course of a school day, and the response was great. We think these kits would be a great way to help students learn more about stress and deal with stressful situations such as state testing. Stress is always going to be there, but we'd encourage you to think about how the Twinsburg schools help students learn about stress and how to develop strategies with stress. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and together we can turn students' stress into success.
Thank you.
We have some samples for you guys to see of the Stress Relief Fun Kit.
Thank you. Now, do you have a competition coming up sometime soon? That's what in Akron? Well, if you presented the way you did tonight, you guys are going to do awesome. Thank you.
We need Play-Doh at every meeting.
Yes. That's wonderful. Yay.
Guys, thank you very much for coming tonight. You did an awesome job. Very nicely done.
You did.
Very
Thank
nicely
you.
done.
Thank you for the kit.
I'm going to take my kit to work tomorrow. I do have to say one thing, though. I'm not sure about the Rubik's Cube. I used to use that, and I'm not sure that would reduce my stress. I've even seen some people that try to take the stickers off to fix the Rubik's Cube.
Isn't that the way you do it?
But no. Thank you very much. That was very nicely done. Okay, next on the agenda then, we'll move on into our action items. By the way, are you folks going to stick around for just a few minutes? I would love to take a picture of that board that you had up there on my phone so that we could share the stuff that was on that board. That was pretty nice. Okay, in the agenda then, moving to agenda item G under the Treasurer's Report and Recommendations, I would like to read these two items together in consent agenda without objection from my colleagues. Item G1, the Board of Education approves the following meeting minutes, the regular meeting of December 17th, 2014, and as sent to the board under separate cover. Item G2, that the Board of Education reviewed and approved the attached tax budget for the Twinsburg City School District for the fiscal year commencing July 21, 2015. I'll make the motion for these two items. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Just under discussion, I would just like to mention that as far as the tax budget is concerned, we're going to hear more about that from Mr. Aho. I'll just give the highlight that it was a clean audit with very minimal items from the state auditor. Mr. Aho was gracious enough to meet with Mr. Felber and myself for breakfast, and we kind of dove into the document from the state, and we're going to meet with the auditors tomorrow afternoon. Mr. Aho, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add tonight, or?
Yeah, those are two separate things. Audit is another piece of the puzzle. This is the tax budget, which goes down to the county.
Oh, the tax budget, yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
But we still had the audit.
Yeah, we did have the audit, and it was clean, and that's a good thing. So, but it's not public until the auditors actually release it. So, you know, people can't ask for it just yet until it actually gets put out there by the state auditor's office. So it should be in a couple weeks, and it'll be actually on the connected on our website to the auditor's website. It was good. This is the tax budget here, and this is part of the budgetary process that's in revised code. This document's used by the County Budget Commission to set the millage rates. They basically look at the levies that are out there, do the calculations. The property values change from year to year, so they're looking at all that stuff. There's a lot of balancing and adjusting that they have to do on all the property values. So basically, this is how they set the millage for the upcoming year. So it's all part of the budgetary process. This is the first part where they're looking at this. The next part will be in April, where we'll actually get the amounts and rates to be approved. Then we'll send that back to the county, and then they will send us our certificates of estimated resources. And from that document, we make our appropriations, because all that stuff has to fit together. Only the federal government is allowed to spend more money than they have, nobody else. So if you hear anybody say that they balance their budget, well, everybody has to by statute. The only people that don't have to balance their budget is in Washington. So this is all part of our process of balancing our budget and making sure that we're in compliance with all the state revised code.
Good. Thank you. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Okay, those two motions pass 4-0. Next on our agenda is item H, which is personnel. Without objection, I will read these three as consent agenda. Item H1, that the Board of Education accepts the certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit H1 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. H2, that the Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit H2 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And item H3, that the Board of Education accepts the supplemental contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit H3 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Is there a motion for these three agenda items, please?
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Felber. A second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any discussion on these items? Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. Those three items pass 4-0. Under new business, I will refrain from reading all of the policies as we did that at the last meeting. Item I1, or I'm sorry. Yes, I1. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the second reading of the following new and/or revised Board of Education policies. Again, they are listed in the agenda, and we had a very nice summary of those items by Ms. Davis and Mr. Felber at the last meeting. And agenda item I2, that the Board of Education approves the following new and/or revised job descriptions for the accounting clerk, assistant transportation supervisor, courier, and dispatcher, which are listed in Exhibit I2, which the board also received separately. Is there a motion for these two agenda items, please?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis, a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Under I2, I just want to make a note that these are some revisions to the management and operations of our transportation department is kind of what's behind this. And would just like to recognize and acknowledge the years of service and retirement of Kathy Hurst, our previous transportation supervisor, and recognize and thank our interim transportation supervisor, Nick Valentine, who's done a very nice job filling in and getting us through the winter months. And I know that our staff has been very diligent, and actually when we talked last night, you were wrapping up some interviews with regard to a new transportation supervisor. So these job descriptions are all kind of a fallout of a refresh or reorganization of that particular area. Any other discussion on these items? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Stroh Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. And those two items pass 4-0. And finally, on the agenda, item I3, we've now had the first reading and the second reading of our policies. This is a motion that the Board of Education approves the new and/or revised Board of Education policies which were noted above in agenda item I1. Is there a motion for item I3?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Felber, a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion on the policies to be approved tonight?
Just a note, as always, on how this happens, these policies are reviewed by a policy committee that has 2 board members. That recommendation then comes to the board, and then for our policy, there are 2 readings, and that's why we're in our second reading. So, there's a little bit of education on policy.
Thank you.
A policy minute.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Stroh Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. And that agenda item passes 4-0, moving us to miscellaneous. Do we have any final comments tonight from our staff, our administrators?
I would
My-
just note
my
that I'm not sure if
colleagues?
it'll make it on the air. We have a health fair coming up very shortly in the next week or 2, I believe, at the high school. I was just mentioning it because I believe it might get on the air before that. I should have checked the date, but it just occurred to me.
It's on a Saturday, I
Yeah, it's a
think.
Saturday. This is, Mr. Bindus puts this together. It's a great event. Look for it in your calendar. Not sure if it's in the bulletin yet.
15th or 24th, I'm not sure.
It's on January 17th.
January 17th.
Yeah.
So I was hoping this might air before. So January 17th at the high school.
9 to noon?
9 to noon is the, what are they calling it? The
Health and wellness?
Health and Wellness Fair. So it's a good event for those that want to see a lot of different vendors and a lot of different activities going on.
And I was there last year. There's a lot of fun activities for the kids too. They do little competitions, and they sometimes have prizes and relay races and drills. And the kids had a good time at the fair. And there's different vendors that will let you know what's going on. Some local businesses, things like that.
Anything else? I just want to say one last thing. Thank you very much. I'm
Very
going
cool.
to try to relieve some stress later tonight. I appreciate this very much. Thanks. You guys did a great, great job. Very nicely done presented tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Very nice. Thank you.
A motion to adjourn, please.
So moved?
Moved by Ms. Stroh Waldron. I'll take the second
Yeah,
from Mr.
that works.
Felber. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stroh Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. Thank you for coming tonight. Board of Education meeting is now adjourned.